Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I hope you're doing wonderful. I am not. My body has been falling apart this morning. I won't explain some of the ways. Don't worry about it. Don't ask about it. But one of the ways is, as we're trying to get going about 45 minutes ago, something got tickling in my throat, and it won't go away. So if I'm coughing or grunting a lot, I do apologize, but we got to do a show. Okay, I tried everything. I drank a bunch of liquid. It's not working. Let's start with this. Many of you, when we do these shows, especially the live audience, and I'm engaging with comments, will write in and say, why isn't Trump being removed from office? It feels like, especially people outside of the country and other countries will write in and say, it seems like your system would prevent this type of chaos, these types of assaults on our democratic institutions, this open breaking of the law, the brazen corruption, violating of court orders, right? Isn't there a way for that to be prevented with the other branches? And my answer, of course, is yeah, if the people in the branches that are supposed to hold him accountable are willing to do it. And right now we have so many Republicans who aren't. Now I'm going to get to the part of this speech that I really find terrifying. But before that, let me just show you this clip that you're seeing on screen, because this video, you know, an image is worth 1,000 words. This video answers that question better than anything else. There's a Republican congressional retreat going on. They're doing it at Trump's hotel. So going and bringing, who knows, taxpayer dollars, or maybe they privately fund it, to do a retreat among congressional Republicans at Trump's resort. And I'll describe for our podcast listeners, you can keep that up, Jaden, but you have Aaron Rupar saying, oh my goodness, watch Mike Johnson, Scalise, Emmer, and McClain clap like seals for Trump for nearly 2 minutes straight. None of them want to be the first to stop. I mean, I'm not trying to overstate it, but just for the sake of making this point, and this is not the big terrifying aspect of the speech even, I'm just kind of leading us into that, but I did find it very weird. This is so Stalin-esque. This is those videos we see at North Korean Kim Jong-un events where they're like, forever, and the leader just stands there and looks around, gets off on it. Look at how long. Now there's music playing, the right? And I can't play that because we get copyrighted, but look how long they're clapping and clapping and clapping. So to answer your question, why won't Congress step in and check Trump's power? That's why, because it's led by those people who are so petrified by Trump. They'll stand just like you've seen, not that we are a dictatorship, I'm not saying that, but like you've seen in dictatorships where no one wants to be the first person to stop clapping. So they all just stand there the entire song and clap for him. Very cringy. But then you have this clip, which Mehdi Hasan said, quiet, period, apart, period, loud, or out loud, right? And here's what Trump said.
They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But
so I'll show another. He's talking about the SAVE Act, which is seeking to restrict on the federal level voting options and impose new restrictions. And they'll say this is just about making sure people identify themselves. Of course, people have to identify themselves, but this is limiting the options that are available to people to do that. And before I play this next clip, remember this is happening in front of the backdrop of Trump talking about, and his administration officials talking about sending ICE to polling locations during the midterms, which you might go, why does that matter? Undocumented immigrants can't vote. Oh yeah, but this is the same ICE that's been grabbing American citizens, stuffing them into unmarked vehicles, and detaining them for days. This is the same ICE that shows up masked and harasses people. This is the same ICE that has killed American citizens. So you could imagine that certain American citizens who think they would be profiled might end up not wanting to go vote if they see that masked men are roaming polling locations. This is a voter suppression tactic. Who would Trump think that that would disproportionately suppress? People voting for him or people voting against him? This is the same guy who we saw reporting that behind the scenes he's considering declaring a state of emergency so that he can seize the voting process in numerous states in the midterms. So when he says this, it's a lot more freaky than if anyone else said it.
And for him, There's something wrong with those people, and we can't let them ever be in a position where they can lead this country again or destroy this country again, because we almost lost this country. This country was close to being lost. The right for him.
And we've now heard statements like that a few different times, which is him saying, if we get these voting law changes that we want, Democrats won't be in power for another 50 years. If we are able to do what we'd like with the voting process, which Trump has said he wants to unconstitutionally take over the mechanisms of voting, which is completely against the founding fathers' intention, then Democrats won't ever be allowed to have power again. Now, if you're defensive of him, you would interpret that as, no, he just means like in his perfect world, people who don't like his ideology wouldn't be in power. And everyone says that. Like, I don't want Republicans to get elected. Is that me saying that somehow I'm going to interfere with the voting? No. But this is the guy who literally tried to steal an election when he lost one. And the same guy that I just listed off all of the different ways he's been pontificating about interfering in the midterm. So we are at near crisis level and some pretty terrifying phenomena happening as we head into a midterms that he's admitted he's terrified of getting tons of backlash and then a lot of his power stripped away from him. Why? He's not on the ballot because Congress is normally, to the questions that I started the segment referencing, supposed to do something. Congress is usually supposed to check the power, hold accountable the power of the president. And if there were majorities in the House, and definitely if it were House and Senate, you'd see Trump's unilateral power come to a screeching halt, and that would be a darn good thing. Now, on a run, you have Trump sort of backing off of his... Well, we don't even know what he's backing off of because he's not exactly articulated what the long-term plan is here, but now he's trying to assure people, at least in this Republican congressional audience, that this will be a short-term venture.
You came along with me. You made it happen. So with your help and hard work, we're making America great again, and we're doing it much faster than we thought, and it's better, stronger, and our country is... doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good. Short-term. Short-term. Thank you. There.
Did you notice what he did there? It was pretty silent as he's talking about his decision to go to war with Iran. Even many Republicans don't love the idea of being on the record authoritatively being in favor of this because they see how unpopular it is. So what does he do? He references his decision and then he goes, how great is the military? Because all of us understand the strength and might of the U.S. military and the bravery of our troops. Yeah. So then he gets them to clap for that, but it kind of seems like they're clapping for his decision. But those are two very different questions. Would you cheer for the decision to go to war versus would you cheer for our troops? Of course we would cheer for our troops. So I found that notable, but then also seemingly, despite him being in a bubble where everyone tells him he's doing everything perfect, he's seeing the backlash. We're going to talk about a little bit the really most disturbing scandal of all of this, which is Trump trying to lie his way out of the truth that we killed a bunch of children in a school. And even Fox News is having to call him out over that. So as that starts to happen, and he's seeing even in his safe spaces like Fox News himself get called out, he's presumably, it appears, backing off a little, but we don't know. This is the part of having such an unstable leader. He could be saying it's going to be real short term for now, and then it could completely flip the next day. And he's saying that as Pete Hegseth just recently said, this is just the beginning. So who knows?
But, you know, they've said this about a lot of things. No other president could do some of this shit I'm doing. No other president. The things I'm doing, nobody else was going to do it. They say it all the time, sir, could you do this? You're the only one can do it. But we got...
They say you're the only one can do it? Interesting. that you have semi-illiterate staff around you speaking to you like that. No, so it's true that Trump is doing much of the quote-unquote shit other presidents wouldn't do. But it's not because, as he said, other presidents couldn't do it. It's because they didn't do it, often for very good reasons. Side point, Trump's ankles seem to be inflating once again, so you do have that update. I know people were wondering. And then Aaron Rufar, who's been tracking, of course, so many of these events so effectively, worded it this way: Mike Johnson does tricks on that thing for Trump. Let's see.
We are bringing America back again, and it's largely because of the leadership of the gentleman that I'll introduce to you in a moment. He is the most active president, the most energized president, the most successful president, I believe, in my lifetime, and he's proven it over and over and over, and part of it is because he doesn't sleep, thankfully. He's got so much to do. And I know that because I get calls from him at 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., sometimes in the same day. He doesn't require a lot of sleep, thankfully, and he is the man for the moment. His achievements are incalculable. History will record that this president...
Do you notice, did he say this? Wait.
That this president came...
This president is so great. I'm just a little me, right? I'm 23. I'm not the Speaker of the House. And when I've gotten up on stages or in public places and spoken, or at one point I did a teleprompter at that live event we did, I feel like I spoke with more confidence and clarity. And again, I'm not hyping myself up, than Mike Johnson, who's been in Congress for a super long time, who's had to speak publicly constantly, and who's the speaker of the House. And watch as he's trying to compliment Trump, he's like a little nervous boy.
A lot of sleep, thankfully, and he is the man for the moment. His achievements are incalculable. History will record that this president came at exactly the right time. On the eve of the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation in the history of...
Are you drunk, Mike? Is that what y'all go do when you go to Doral and have... Is that where they are? Probably Trump's Doral resort, and have retreats. You get drinking or something and then go up on stage. So that was Mike Johnson, as Aaron Rupart put it, doing tricks on that thing. And then at a different event, Trump said this.
I might add, we're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes,
So he's referencing most significantly Russia there. Now, again, as I was debating this, and I told you all I was going to review my bar fight debate today, I'm still waiting for them to give, it's behind a paywall, so they're going to give me a full cut of it that I can review on the show. I think that's going to happen today, so that actually tomorrow we'll review it. But in that debate, you had the argument from Michael Knowles and Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw of, we are more than just Iran in this military action. We are positioning ourselves geopolitically effectively against our adversaries, presumably China and Russia. And instead, because of what has happened to the oil market, Trump is panicking and relieving sanctions on Russia, which will fund their war effort against Ukraine, delaying even further peace there, causing more carnage, peace there, because this is how they fund their war machine. And then he's acting like maybe we'll never reimpose the sanctions, which that sort of economic pressure plus Ukraine continuing an effective defense is like the path to peace there, like the one path. And he's once again taking a step, as this was supposed to, in a global way, be geopolitically effective for us and our allies, is actually having the opposite effect. Very, very notable. Thank you all again. Sorry we started so late today. It's just, but make sure you're a member, and I'll read out your name if you become a member while we're still live by clicking the join button on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, that'll be right below where the video is. And then you get a whole bonus show. Yesterday was a fun one, and sometimes we get into more personal stuff or more unhinged things. Speaking of unhinged and more fun, let's talk about this. There's a little bit of drama in right-wing influencer world, which there always seems to be, but I've been having a lot of fun talking about this particular little group. Do you remember the the car or the van that was taking a bunch of these right-wing extremists to a club, and they were listening to the Hail Hitler song by Kanye, and then it led to, as you could imagine, a whole series of events. The person at the club who played the song ended up getting fired. You had Andrew Tate, who's this big influencer, saying it was Sneeko who you're seeing on screen there. It was his fault. He played the song, and everyone's saying, oh, it was somebody else. But then you look at the video, and they're all like, woo! So it's like, I don't really care who played the song. You're all bumping to it. Well, after that, it kind of re-sparked a battle between Sneeko, who originally looked like just an Andrew Tate spinoff, but now I guess they have beef, and Andrew Tate himself. Okay, so with that context, you saw Andrew Tate post on X 1,000 retweets, and I'll finally explain why I had to stop talking to him, meaning Sneeko. So then Sneeko comes out and is like, hey, here's what Andrew's gonna do, and it's gonna be a bunch of ridiculous stuff, and then I'll show you what Andrew Tate ended up releasing. But it's weird because they're all grown adults now, but they fight like they're children, where at the center of this beef will be Andrew Tate calling Sneeko gay. That's where we are. Middle school. Well, oh yeah, you're gay. And then Sneeko's like, I'm not gay. Don't defame my name like that. Like,
why are you gay?
What the heck is happening? So here was Sneeko's warning to people about whenever Andrew drops this hit piece on me, be warned, I'm not gay.
I know what he's going to bring up. I already know what the tactic is to be. These people are easy to read. I didn't want to address it on stream. I'm going to address it before it happens. Maybe people will clip it up. What he's going to do, he's going to bring up clips from a podcast from like 5-6 years ago where I was a stand-up comedian at the time, and we were joking, and on streams joking about like, oh, have you ever thought about being gay? Yeah, it's a joke.
Why does this matter at all? Like, imagine, it sounds like they're saying, I was making a joke about sleeping with a 15-year-old, but like it was a joke. That's the way he's talking about it. Like, you can't accuse me of a crime like this. I was just joking about it. Just like imagining. What? It's not gay if you're just imagining it.
The other one they're going to bring up, there's fake pictures going around where people pretend that there's these, like they say that you did gay porn. Most of those pictures are fake. The other ones, I was 17, and there are leaked photos that I sent to a girl that leaked online. They're fake. And people post that, and they've ran with this lie. The pictures that have circulated are not real. The other one, there's... And of course, I never wanted to talk about this stuff. It's embarrassing, but it got leaked, and then the person got arrested. It wasn't part of like this shoot or this magazine. This was private stuff, and it was posted when I was 17. And that's circulated around. I already know what he's going to do. And then he's going to also show modeling pictures because I used to model high fashion for Burberry and Nike. That's what he's going to do. I guarantee you. And so he's going to bring this up and then try, oh, he's gay. But he's not going to talk about what my platform is used for this anti-war position, for not wanting to get my country to go and die for Israel while he lives in Romania. Talk, oh, Dubai, they're clout chasers. But this is what they have. It's character assassination. I already know what it's going to be. Guarantee you. But also, what he might even do is go further and talk about people in my personal life, which is.
By the way, a lot of this I don't even. What he said he did modeling, so I looked up and I was like, oh yeah, there's nothing embarrassing about these. These are just good old modeling photos. Okay, all right. Hey, you model, you model. What's wrong with that? Right? He looks good in them. There's no problem. I already know his... Okay, here's a thought. Nick Fuentes, white nationalist, terrible ideology, etc. One of the things people accuse him of a lot is being gay. And with all of the disgusting elements of Nick Fuentes, one thing he does effectively is be like, okay. Like, he gets that allegation and he's like, all right. I think it comes off really weird. I mean, at least to me, whenever someone's like, he's going to call me gay and I'm not even gay and I was just doing a photo shoot and all it was a D-pic to my girlfriend. It was to a girl. It all just, it's like it drags you down to this weird childish debate.
Completely cross the line. And it's time and time again, it's the people that are closest to you that you've defended the most. People that I've went to back and forth with moist criticals because I was defending people that I thought were my friends. Tate, I probably got banned and my reputation changed forever because of the Manosphere Association, the Red Pill Association, because I was defending him so much. Look at what he's doing now. None of that was reciprocated into my...
See, I'm using right wing. It is right wing, but it's not like political right, electoral right wing in the same way as it's like the Manosphere that they're part of. The women need to be put in their place is like where these folks got notoriety. Now, I think Sneeko said that he's now done with the red pill. Who knows? I can't keep up with all of it.
Face. Andrew Tate says no issue, shakes my hand, and wants to do a video with me in New York. Then the club thing happens. It goes and tries to throw me under the bus to ruin my character, to try to ruin my career. No, and I see people in the chat, you don't stoop to their level. That's what they want to bring you down. They want to demoralize you.
Okay, so maybe we can come back and watch the rest of this, but now let's look at what Andrew Tate posted in his expose of Sneeko, which literally the entire thesis of his expose is Sneeko hit on me, which is, wow, what a bombshell.
So it seems he's got himself exposed and all these revelations are going to come to light. So I'm going to tell you a very fact.
And by the way, a lot of their audiences were mad at them for doing damage control when they were all in a van with Clavicular, Nick Fuentes doing Sieg Heils during a song that says Hail Hitler. And like, imagine as an audience being less outraged or less outraged by the influences you like dancing and being hyped about a song that praises Hitler than the potential of one of the influencers you like being gay. Like, that world apparently still exists with some people, and it's an interesting thing to try to get your head around.
True story. I'm not Gossip Girl. I'm not here to insult anyone. I have no personal vendetta against anybody. I'm not mad at anyone who's ever insulted me. I'm just a guy. And I'm just here to tell the version of the story as I lived it. I'm just here to tell the truth. That's it. I'm just going to tell you some facts. A few years ago, there was a streamer, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, who was obsessed with me. If I got a girl's number on Fresh and Fit, he tried to do the same thing. Every single thing I did, he copied verbatim. He tried to be me, literally be me. He was obsessed with me. And I thought he just wanted to be famous, and that turned out to be a homosexual obsession. He came to Romania with two people who I respect very much, Myron and Fresh, great guys. They managed to...
You know, I gotta start trying this. Whenever right-wing influencers come for me, and MAGA folks say something mean to me, I'm like, listen, I get it. You just have a homosexual obsession with me, and like, I don't blame you. My commentary can be very homoerotic. I understand, but you do need to work that out before you have this sort of homosexual rage at me. That's like such a narcissistic way to interpret someone's hate is to go, so obviously they're sexually obsessed with me.
To convince me to allow him to come. He came there and started acting really fruity and really weird. He started telling me that he had this cuck thing that was exposed. He had this big cuck scandal, and he asked me what I think about cucking and if it's normal to explore your sexuality and if I've ever tried it. And I said, look, I'm older than you, bro, and I've never tried that. I don't think that's normal. And then he started saying, isn't it normal just to try new things? Don't you think it's normal to be curious? How do you know if you're really gay or not unless you've tried being gay? And then I realized he was coming on to me. And when I realized he was coming on to me, I thought the best thing I can do is just not talk to him anymore. Because I don't like this Gossip Girl stuff. I don't want to be a drama merchant like he is. My brand isn't sitting online and constantly insulting other people like his is. So
like, as you're doing that, as you're saying that the reason that y'all have beef is because he really likes you, because he has a crush on you. Can you imagine, as a side note, if this conversation is real, which who knows if it was, and you're going, it's normal to explore your sexual... Yeah, it is, to answer to whatever his real name is. It feels weird to keep calling him Sneeko, but Sneeko, it is normal. But also, if you're going to do any exploration, all the advice I would give is not with an Andrew Tate type figure. That's going to be the wrong person to do the whole, like, but what if we just celebrated each other's bodies? Like, that's the wrong person to go to for that.
I thought, let me just cut him off. He's obsessed with me. He's a bit weird. I don't want to ruin the guy's career.
I'm not saying me. Okay, I'm taken. That kind of sounds like I was offering myself up. I'm not saying me. I just mean not Andrew Tate.
You're my daddy.
I'm like, listen, it's normal. You just have to find the right person.
Here, let me just go his own separate way. Since then, he has mentioned me every single day in every single stream he does. Andrew Tate wore a gambling t-shirt. Andrew Tate drove a car. Andrew Tate drunk coffee. Andrew Tate this. Andrew Tate that. He is obsessed with me. And if you see the way he talks about me, you can see in his eyes. It's not because he is morally superior. It's not because he just wants clicks. It's a homosexual rage which is suppressed. Guys, I don't like saying this. I feel uncomfortable making this video. I wanted all of this to go away. I just said, no, I'm not gonna fuck you, bro. Get out of here. I just tried to ignore the kid for 5 fucking years. Here we are 5 years later. He won't stop talking about me. And if you watch him do it, guys, watch him do it and look in his eyes while he does it. It is a suppressed homosexual rage.
Okay, so let's switch back to Sneeko and see if we can look in his eyes. Andrew, I think you might be looking into his eyes a little too deeply to find that outcome.
So that you don't keep speaking the truth. You got tech teams in Israel. I'm going to stick on this. I'm not going to get into these petty battles. I don't advocate for any doxing. I don't want anybody to stoop to that level and go there. Don't do that. We're better than that. This is love speech.
See? Love speech. Very suspicious. Very suspicious. Look at his eyes. He wants to have sex with me. Look at him. I keep looking at him.
Platform is used for.
I keep going back and looking at his old model pictures. He's gay for me.
For something greater. I'm trying to get to the truth. And it's Ramadan. You're not supposed to spike your cortisol. This is a very holy time. Ramadan Kareem. Someone like Andrew Tate, he calls himself Muslim. He's going to talk about me, and he's going to try to assassinate my character more than he's ever said a word about Ramadan. Talk about immigrants slaughtering your daughter, hasn't said one word about the holy month, the most important time for Muslims. And especially right now when there's literally a war on Muslims. People in our government are saying Muslims don't even belong in our country. Congressman. And yeah, this is nothing new. I have nothing to hide. I never committed a crime. So they want to go there, man, then they're going to go there.
Yeah. Okay. So then I didn't see anything in his eyes, to be honest, but let's keep watching.
He is enraged. Now he's Muslim LARPing. He's Islam LARPing. Constantly LARPing about Islam while being gay in private and taking drugs in private, as opposed to me, who keeps my faith private and my internet. He keeps his faith on the internet, and in his private life is completely haram. So we can discuss which one of us is the real Muslim if we want to have that conversation. But I live in an Islamic country. I live in Dubai. He lives in New York.
Yeah, so I kind of miss this saga. I guess they both were they still are kind of in the manosphere, red pill, woke culture is destroying our our country, and that we got to bring back strong men who assume their role and everything. That was pre-conversion, but then I guess they both converted to Islam, and so that's why they're bringing that up, kind of accusing each other of being fake Muslims or something. A little extra addition to this story, which I kind of missed.
You know, he walks around during Pride Month in New York. Guys, I really didn't want to do this video, but it's all coming to light. I woke up this morning with a few text messages from people who know very well saying, is it true that this person does these things? And I'm like, oh, so this is about to blow up all over the internet. I said a long time ago to Sneeko once on one of my emergency meetings, I said, don't come at me, bro, because I could have ruined your career and I didn't. I am the nicest.
Is that it? Okay, I'm done with this. Is that it? All of this buildup? 1,000 retweets and I'll end Sneeko's career. Oh, I warned him 4 years ago. I said, don't come at me, brother. Don't you get any closer. Don't get any closer to me, Sneeko, or I'll come at you, and I'll come at you hard. I said that to him, and I said, I'll ruin your career. I'll ruin you. And now I'm doing it. He's gay. That was the big buildup. That was the 4 years of I held this to myself. Is you kind of thinking he came on to you one time? Okay, dude. Wow. I've said it before, but no one fights like the right wing fights. I've never seen liberal influencer clashes that go quite in the direction as these either manosphere, red pill, or right wing battles. They always go into very weird places. All right. Let's, where's the comments? That's my question. We got a large viewing audience right now. Come here. Let me hear something. I want to hear from you. Become a member. Click the join button on YouTube. Send a super chat. I'm not about like the, money, but it's like, how do you decipher between all the chats and the other chats? Okay, well, we'll do the super chats first. And let me know what you think of all this. Maybe not that subject, but we're about to get into a much more important subject. And again, I appreciate all of you being here around this time, Monday through Friday. We're live, but you can watch it back whenever you'd like under the live tab on the YouTube homepage. An extremely wow, that's a doozy, huh? An extremely disturbing scandal has erupted in the aftermath of Trump starting the war with Iran, which is in one of the first waves of strikes by joint U.S.-Israeli forces. It is becoming increasingly clear that we killed a school full of girls, of children. And initially, the White House response was, oh, no, that probably wasn't us, but we'll investigate. And then it got confirmed, yes, this was us, but Trump is completely going out there and lying about it. Even after Fox News hosts like Laura Ingraham are calling this out and saying, come out and be clear. Come out and admit. Because it's only going to get worse if you don't. Media reports Fox's Laura Ingraham demands U.S. address girls' school tragedy head on after Trump blames it on Iran. And I've seen a few people giving Laura Ingraham credit with this. I guess she should get some credit. I mean, it feels like a basic thing to do if you're at all in the public eye and covering politics. But she's now a couple times been like, hey, Trump administration, you need to address this head on and stop with this. Well, I don't know. We don't really know. It's horrific. And it's your duty to own up to it. We're going to circle back to Laura Ingraham in a second. But first, here's another Fox anchor and the correspondent fact-checking Trump's denials here.
And Jen Griffin, our national security correspondent. One of the questions, Jen, in that news conference was about the strike on the girls' school that's next to a base in Iran, and it was a Tomahawk missile. The president saying Tomahawks are used by other countries, but an investigation is ongoing. What do we know about where that stands?
Well, that was a bit surprising to me because basically the U.S. has Tomahawks. Tomahawks have to be fired from either submarines or from warships. The Brits and the Australians have Tomahawks, but they're not part of this conflict. And then you also have the Japanese who are in a testing phase. So it seems highly unlikely that it would be anyone's Tomahawk other than a U.S. Tomahawk that hit that school. And I think the president knows that. He just knows that this is certainly a mistake, a big mistake, and it's being investigated, but he's trying to sort of muddy the waters by talking about the Tomahawks.
Yeah, they were saying that they didn't believe it was theirs, or they believed that Iran misfired something. Are we sure that it was a Tomahawk that hit that school?
There's no evidence that the Iranians fired anything at this school. If you look at the satellite imageries, and there have been a lot of investigations from the air, from these satellite photos, showing the impact and showing the likelihood that it was a Tomahawk.
So the response from defenders of Trump will be pointing to the horrific atrocities of the Iranian regime. And it's like, no, of course, the Iranian regime has done horrible things to civilians. And one of the reasons that we are supposed to be proud of ourselves as Americans is because we hold ourselves to a higher standard than that. We oppose those sorts of atrocities. But now you can't even get a straightforward answer from our government about us massacring children. I'm assuming for sure on accident, but nevertheless, there's now dozens of dead schoolgirls. Because if I get a misfire, and meanwhile, you can't even get the U.S. president to address this with the type of gravity and seriousness that it deserves. Watch when he was confronted.
Yeah. Please, go ahead.
There's footage that shows that an American
missile strike and a Tomahawk missile likely destroy that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I
for
haven't
that strike?
seen it, and I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic, it's sold to other countries.
So he's just making that up, by the way. I mean, you just heard a Fox News correspondent fact check that that's not true. That's a completely incoherent explanation. So then you have Laura Ingraham calling out the Trump administration on this. You have the Brett Baer and Jennifer Griffin calling it out. And even so, Trump refuses to just concede to the facts of the situation. And so a journalist had a really well-crafted question for him after that.
You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous.
Every time he says, as you know, it's because he doesn't know if what he's saying is accurate. He's just trying to convince you into not questioning it.
Other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
Ugh. So did you hear the question was brilliant by this journalist? But then did you hear how he started his answer with, I said something that this is what the subtext of what he said was. I said something that I completely made up because I didn't really know what was going on. But it just happened. That was in the same press conference where he went, oh no, I think that was actually an Iranian Tomahawk. Couldn't be that, given what was explained. And he goes, but I didn't really know much. I don't know much about it. Well, then why are you coming up with random theories? How about you go learn about it and then address it as the U.S. president? Okay, then we get back to Laura Ingraham. You know the state of things are wild when she kind of seems like she's had it with some of the stories coming out of the Trump administration. This has to do with a report that was insane. That Lindsey Graham, you remember, who was it? It was either Witkoff or someone was going to Putin and coaching Putin on how to interact with Trump. Or was it Epstein? It might have been Epstein. I think there actually was a report about how him advising Putin about. But then you also had a Trump administration official, is that crazy, guiding Putin through how he could sort of win Trump over. And you go, this is insane. Why would they be doing that? And then here you have a report about Lindsey Graham giving Netanyahu advice about how to pressure Trump into or win him over into joining the war. And Laura Ingraham didn't seem to like that.
I want to ask about what the Wall Street Journal is reporting about your colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham. The Journal is saying that Graham traveled several times to Israel in recent weeks to help make the case on Iran, meeting with members of the country's intelligence agency, spoke with Netanyahu, coaching him on how to lobby President Trump for action. Graham said that Netanyahu showed the president intel that persuaded President Trump to go ahead. Senator, I know you all talk to foreign leaders, and that happens routinely. But speaking to a foreign leader on the precipice of war and seeming to be lobbying or being an intermediary, which this seems to indicate, is that the right way to go?
Well, listen, Lindsey is passionate about defending America, and he is on the road a lot. He's talking to world leaders all over the world. There are times when I agree with Lindsey. There are times when I don't. But when it comes to
what about this? Well, what about this? I mean, this is something of a totally different level, is it not?
No, actually, when it comes to the threat Iran poses, Lindsey agrees they pose a major threat to America, and I agree they pose a major threat to America. Look, Lindsey and I disagreed on the Iraq War. He thought the Iraq War was a good idea. I thought the Iraq War was a mistake. I think Iran is fundamentally different because Saddam Hussein was not murdering Americans on the scale and level that Iran has been doing. Saddam Hussein was not funding Hamas and Hezbollah killing Americans. And President Trump acted boldly to take out a regime that had been killing Americans over
but
and over.
But we're not disagreeing on that.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Our point is working with Netanyahu so closely to lobby President Trump, acting as an intermediary for a foreign country. Is that appropriate? That was my simple question. I'm not trying to be difficult here, but that's slightly unusual.
So I looked it up to remind myself. Yes, it was Witkoff coaching a Putin aide on how Putin should talk to Trump to get what he wants. And then now you have Lindsey Graham. It's just such a weird world where you have these people who want something. In this case, Lindsey Graham wanting us to go to war. And so then you have him going and like, here's what you can say if you compliment Trump's tie. Like, I don't know if that's what it was, but oh my gosh, just make sure you do not mention the rash on his neck or the brown thing on his hand or the ankle. Just if you don't mention any of those things, you'll be in a better place. And compliment his son Barron. He will ask you who that is, but then remind him it's his son, and then that'll be good. And kind of giving them some tools to lobby Trump is a definite weird scenario.
Well, is it not? I agree with you on your other points.
I don't think it's a fair characterization that Lindsey is an intermediary for Israel. And a lot of the critics say, oh, the war is all about Israel. Understand, it's not about Israel. It is about America. The reason President Trump acted is to defend America. There's a reason.
And we're going to talk about in a little bit, I think it's one of the next segments, the potential end of this and the conclusion being something that puts us maybe just in a worse place than we were before, okay? And so when they talk about the defense of America or how these actions are going to prevent Iran from ever funding or supporting our adversaries ever again, or working against our interests or harming our people, what it looks like is we're going to have stoked even more animosity. We're going to not have toppled the regime. We will have killed a bunch of people, and Americans will have been killed by the Iranian government, and then we'll move on. And then they'll go back to what they were doing before with literally the son of the guy who was in charge before being in charge now. That's where it looks like this is heading. So when they give you these grand explanations of how, no, trust me, with these big strikes and billions of dollars being spent just in a few days, somehow that's magically going to make everything better. They're making that up, and they can't explain logistically how that even works. Then you have Megyn Kelly upset with Lindsey Graham. But here's what's bothering me. I'm going to repeat it again. I think it's very strategic on the part of the Megyn Kellys of the world of trying to make Lindsey Graham the chief villain. And there's plenty of reason for him to be a villain, but instead of putting all the responsibility on Trump's shoulders. Here she's going, Trump, you need to distance yourself from Lindsey. You got to get him. Oh, Lindsey shouldn't be anywhere close to you. As if Trump was kind of done wrong by Lindsey Graham. And they don't seem to level the same criticism for the guy who actually made the decision. Okay, call out Lindsey Graham for lobbying for the wrong decision. But guess who actually made the decision ultimately? The guy that you helped to get into office. Will you word it that way ever, Megyn?
Trump called Graham this week to praise his television appearances. Oh, my God. Graham saw an opportunity. The senator said he pitched Trump on bombing Iranian and Hezbollah elements inside Lebanon. Trump said he'd think about it. Graham recalled, quote, I just think he has seen the capability of our military. Graham goes on, what I don't understand is why more people don't do it. Try to shape these events. This is a moment of world history here. Just jump in the deep end of the pool. This guy is a homicidal maniac with a bloodlust that is insatiable. He got us into the Iranian war, Lindsey Graham. Now he wants us to get involved.
Trump did. You see what I mean? They love to make it about just Lindsey because then they don't have to contend with their role in supporting Trump. That's what this is. So then if it's all Lindsey's fault, no, Trump got misled. Is it ever Trump's responsibility when he's the commander-in-chief, when he's the one actually making the final decision?
In a Lebanese war, which is Israel's already starting or involved in, And he wants us to go into Cuba. From the sound of it, possibly, is that a boots on the ground situation? I don't know. But this guy should be nowhere near President Trump. He should not be allowed within 20 feet of the president's orbit. And the president should make the decision to keep this guy the hell away from him, or at least in his own mind, shut down his influence. This is not a force for good in the...
What if Trump just agrees with him? Why? They treat him like a child. It drives me crazy. Even the people calling out this decision still treat Trump like a child. Someone needs to keep Lindsey away from Trump.
You're my daddy.
Lindsey's doing such good tricks on that thing. He's convincing Trump into going to war.
I love cows.
Hey, he's the president. Does he not have any agency? He's just a little baby. If you leave someone in the room with him long enough, they'll show him fun, like, animations of what war looks like, and then he'll declare war. We can't. It's not his fault.
A brain.
So annoying. Okay. Intuition Jen sent 5 gifted memberships. You are amazing. Cypher Batman said, hi, Luke. Been watching since last October. Amazing. Wait, was last October... What October is it? Was that not the election one? Okay. Last, though. Were they saying last or the one that just happened? That is last. Okay, thank you. Because I was going to make a joke about, wow, we were so hopeful in October, but that was...
I'm not cognitively.
Guys, I am off. You can see with my speaking, I'm off today. It's been crazy. You're not small is the @ there. That wasn't me. That was the weird @ Became a member by clicking the join button. Appreciate that. Intuition Jen said the bombing of the girls' school was the USA's first strike in Iran. This, along with the killing of their religious leader, only creates more extremists. It is shameful. And it does, we're going to talk about in this next segment. I feel like we're barreling toward a lot of escalation, but then a conclusion that doesn't accomplish anything. Bloodshed, kids dead, soldiers dead, more extremism, more hatred toward the United States, but nothing fundamentally different other than that. And that's exactly why, as we began this war, so many people like myself were warning against the consequences. It's not because we like the Iranian regime or we don't really wish, hope, pray that the Iranian people could be under a better government that isn't so oppressive and horrible. But it's about understanding what can go oh so very wrong in actions like this. I referenced to all of you a little while ago and then never circled back to it, but now we get a chance to because of a new report. The news that I said, I feel like I saw somewhere that there's billions and billions of dollars that the Pentagon is desperately trying to spend before, a certain point in time, so that they can continue using that size budget, right? A little surplus they were trying to spend. And Doge was telling us that there was so much wasteful spending, and that's why we have to cut investments in cancer research and social programs and health insurances because we don't have enough money. But then I saw a report about how much the Pentagon was just like, we're trying to spend all this money so that we can fulfill the full budget. Well, now we have specifics, okay? Look at this from the Daily Beast. Pentagon Pete blew a fortune on crabs in multi-billion-dollar spending. Sorry. Oh, my gosh. My brain interpreted that as something very different than what it was. I did hear Pete loves strip clubs, so maybe he had to blow a fortune on crabs. But the Pentagon spent millions of dollars on luxury crabs and other food items in a single month as a part of a frantic end-of-year spending spree to maintain its immense funding. Now, let's go to The Office real quick, the TV show. There's a scene between Oscar and Michael, the boss, where Oscar comes in and says, we have a surplus of like $1,000. You will have to decide before the end of the day how we spend that money so that we don't get our budget reduced. And Michael says, explain to me like a child what that means. And he said, okay, I'm doing it. Okay, your parents gave you $10 for a lemonade stand. You go buy all of the things you need to do a lemonade stand, but you only end up spending $9. So next summer, when you want to do a lemonade stand, they're only going to give you $9 because that's how much they think it costs to run a lemonade stand. That $1 is the surplus. If you spend that, then they'll give you $10 next summer because you demonstrated that's what you need to run your lemonade stand. To which Michael says, explain this to me now like I'm even younger. And he didn't get it. Okay, so the x-axis. So that's what we're talking about here, but on a much bigger scale. And we're going to talk about in a second the cost of this war. But first, you just have them like, let's get luxury lobsters and crabs. Which, by the way, lobster's so overrated. An analysis by the government watchdog Open the Books found that the department led by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spent more than $93 billion in a month, the end of the fiscal year, on various grants, the fiscal, as Michael would put it, on various grants and contracts. The highest total since at least 2008. Included in this spending when they're like, we got to spend all this money because we told them we needed it. By the way, give the soldiers more money or something. Was $2 million on Alaskan king crab, $6.9 million on lobster tail, $1 million on salmon. The Defense Department also spent nearly $140,000 on donuts, ice cream machines, $26,000 on sushi preparation tables, $15 million on ribeye steak. Shoo! The Pentagon tries to spend as much of its congressionally allocated budget as possible at the end of every fiscal year because of the federal use it or lose it rules. I just explained that with the lemonade stand from The Office example. Look at that. They have a photo of a crab. And then they gave out a bunch of contracts and stuff to spend that money. So that story that I saw in passing ended up being so very real. When Trump has now increased the War Department budget to a record high, $1 trillion. Do I want our military to be well funded? Yes. Is having a very powerful military important? Yes. Especially when the United States is the most powerful country in the world? Yes. Do we need $1 trillion annual military budget? Seems high. And you go, oh, well, you're not a patriot then, because that's not high enough. To which I say, really? Because they were burning money trying to spend the rest of their budget at the end of the fiscal year. So who's right now, buddy? And this war that we're in is costing at least $1 billion a day. But we didn't have, apparently, $8 million for making mice transgender, okay? So we don't have $8 million to make mice transgender, Doge says, but we do have $1 billion a day for a war that they can't even articulate. We don't have money for cancer research. We don't have money for Medicaid. We don't have money for food stamps, but we have $1 billion just sitting around a day for a war. We don't have money for drag queens in Guatemala or condoms in Gaza. You remember that story that they tried to lie about? But we do have $1 billion a day for this. The Pentagon used $5.6 billion in advanced munitions in just the first 2 days of its Iran war. Operation Epic Fury, more like Operation Epic Expensive. The news has sparked alarm on Capitol Hill over how quickly U.S. forces are burning through, America's most high-end weaponry. You have just so much money. It's been costing American taxpayers an estimated $1 billion a day, a pace that could push the total bill toward $215 billion as the conflict drags on through September. So you got, potentially we're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, depending on how long this goes. Okay? Which is enough money to fund a bunch of the stuff they cut out of social programs. Like, really comprehend that. When it's very likely we are going to end this conflict, war, whatever they're calling it, operation, special military operation, as Putin would put it, not being able to articulate what we accomplished. Aaron Rupar wrote, the bottom line is Trump sacrificed 8 American lives and counting, and more than 1,000 Iranian lives and counting for nothing. He hurt the U.S. and global economies, destabilized the Middle East, and will pull out with the same Iranian regime in power. There's no silver lining, a senseless criminal waste. And why are we talking about that now? It's because Trump just started indicating with his language that he's looking at ending this war. He said it's going to be short term. He started to really specify that. That could change in an instant. Right. But it looks like he's going to try to declare victory, maybe somewhat soon. I don't know for sure. And then say we achieved something. But we see we really haven't. Maybe we destroyed a bunch of their military capabilities. What does that mean in the long term? So they're not going to try to rebuild them? So they're not going to have even more reason to have stronger military capabilities, hoping that that will be a deterrent? It doesn't make any sense. But we have billions and billions to spend on it. Kind of on a similar... So remember, Trump came into office saying, we're going to be making so much money, we're going to be winning, you're going to be so tired of winning, and we're going to have money coming out of our ears, we're going to pay down our debt, we're going to get rid of income taxes because the tariffs, we're going to be bringing in so much money from China, not understanding how tariffs work. And instead, his landmark legislative action is ballooning the debt, okay? Adds a ton to the debt, trillions, in large part because of tax breaks for the wealthy. And then a war that now they're looking to go to Congress to get more funding for, apparently. You were spending all your money on crabs? And now you're going to Congress for more money? No, they're trying to get supplemental funding. Who knows if that'll pass? But he's been the opposite of good for the debt. I mean, he's been good for making it go up, bad for making it go down. But do you know what is actually good for the deficit? Immigrants. The Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, is out with a major new research study showing that immigrants, both legal and illegal, contribute significantly more in taxes than they receive in public benefits. And there's more. Because immigrants, both legal and not, are such large net contributors of tax revenue, they also structurally reduce government budget deficits. So then let's add to the stack of things Trump is doing to increase our financial instability and financial irresponsibility with ballooning the debt, his actions against immigrants, which will also have a negative impact on the debt. That sounds like I'm saying it's going to decline. That will also increase our deficits. Okay, there we go. That's the way that I wanted to word it. But we don't have money, as you can see here. According to them, for cancer research, the National Cancer Institute hasn't made a single grant this fiscal year, and that's being obliterated. So, remember Doge? Do you remember? I mean, that feels like a lifetime ago. Do you remember that guy who ran it who was like, hi, and okay, maybe he didn't do that, but...
The left wanted to make comedy illegal.
They would find $1 million of spending that you go, oh yeah, maybe we didn't need to spend $1 million on that. And they'd be like, oh, everything's fraud. Oh, we got to cut every program, cut off funds to this and that, and freeze federal funding. And now they're wasting money like you couldn't imagine. But instead of it being money that could actually benefit a low-income American through a social program, it's money that's being spent on war or to make Trump's rich friends even richer. Boo. Scott Lodgy became a member by clicking the Loggy. Became a member by clicking the join button. Could y'all please get usernames that are like meh, like readable? Intuition Jen, boom, got it, right? Scott Lodgy is fine, but like this one, user versus 7PKT2ER4U. What does that mean? What am I supposed to read that out for? Click the join button and I appreciate you greatly. That seemed mean. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much, user -VS7PK2ER4U. I really do appreciate you, despite the username being a little complicated. Claire, a member for 5 months, said the worst thing is, while he's bankrupting the USA, he's getting richer. True. So much richer. We discussed earlier a little right-wing civil war. Now we have even more where Piers Morgan, who cozied up to the MAGA crew, the pro-Trump people, so much. And now he's having beef with some of them. Now, a part of this, it started with him beefing with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro stopped going on his show and then was criticizing Piers Morgan. Then Dave Rubin jumped into the mix, who used to be like a regular guy on Piers Morgan's show, but apparently he stopped going on Piers Morgan's show. So then Piers is lashing out at them. A lot of this has to do with Piers becoming more, at least this is Piers' argument, critical of the Israeli government, and Rubin and Shapiro being much more pro-Israel. But that's kind of a story we've been following, how the right is fractured along that line, as is the left. But it went into an area I never thought it would go, which is them accusing each other of just chasing clicks. It shifted into Ben Shapiro being like, oh yeah, well, Piers, you don't even do good journalism. Your show is just showmanship, and it's just for people to scream at each other. And it's like, yeah, from y'all? From Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro? Ben, whenever I'm talking to someone and I go, do you know Ben Shapiro? And they're like, no. I go, do you know the person that you saw on TikTok who went, wet ass P word, about the Cardi B song? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know Ben Shapiro. And Dave Rubin, I go, do you know Dave Rubin? They go, no. And I go, well, yeah, I don't know how to explain him. Do you know the... All right, no, I don't know how to explain it. So now that's where this argument has led to, is Shapiro, Rubin saying that Piers is platforming bad guests just for clicks, and then Piers being like, oh yeah, well, you're doing it.
I'm mogging you right now.
I'm mogging you.
And it was brought to my attention that he was very upset about a debate last week featuring Dave Smith.
So last night on Piers Morgan, which is the Jerry Springer of political television, where people gather to throw chairs at one another and determine paternity. Piers Morgan, who has sort of made a mockery of the entire industry by putting on screen whatever dregs are still willing to go on screen with Piers Morgan.
True. I'm one of them. You reviewed the Barbie movie. Let's calm down with this. You have made a mockery of political commentary. All of these influencers do very embarrassing things or create very WWE type debate for the sake of clicks. That's just what happens, especially in the right wing. But even a lot of liberal influencers lower their standards for the sake of notoriety.
He had on Dave Smith, who has, apparently his job is never to tell jokes, but to instead give poorly informed foreign policy takes, and also to hate America. Here we go.
Well, first, Jerry Springer was a very good friend of mine, and he was a beloved...
I'd love to see that Tony Lapidus, who came on and did the Tucker impression, I'd love him do it back and forth between Ben Shapiro and Piers.
Well, you're just bringing on the worst dregs of society that will go on your godforsaken show.
Well, excuse me. Hang on. Jerry Springer was a good buddy of mine. It's like, you're both so crazy. Hey, with love to everybody. However you talk, however anything is great. We love it.
Well, first, Jerry Springer was a very good friend of mine, and he was a beloved national treasure who actually hosted one of the most successful shows in television history and became a media mogul worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So thank you for that comparison, Ben. Second, we proudly host lively debates on things that people care about, featuring guests that people care about, to cover both sides of complex news stories in an engaging way. Do the debates sometimes get a bit combative? Yes. Do audiences tend to enjoy a bit of theatrical rough and tumble? Of course they do. That's why the Daily Wire, Ben's company, has an entire political debate show which is literally called Bar Fight. That's why Ben's own show features hard-hitting segments including Ben Shapiro destroys celebrity ice reactions. Ben Shapiro destroys the Golden Globes. Ben Shapiro reacts to woke TikToks.
If you're Ben Shapiro, you can't go for... Call out whoever you want to call out. Go to war with them. Not literally, but you're also advocating for war literally. So okay, but it's never gonna go well for you to use as one of your criticisms that someone's doing too much rage bait or clickbait or showmanship, or that it's more of a performance than a substantive debate. When, like, as he's listing off there, some of your most viral segments are green hair liberal thinks she's non-binary. Ben Shapiro wrecks her.
Shapiro reacts to woke socialist TikToks. Ben Shapiro reacts to woke religious TikToks. And when it comes to humiliating the industry, please tell me why the Pulitzer Prize Committee did not reward Mr. Shapiro for this masterpiece.
What the Ryan?
Podcast listeners, this is a shot of Ben Shapiro burning a bunch of Barbies because Barbie went woke.
You could say that makes a mockery of the industry. Third, I want to examine the charge that I've committed a sin against journalism by hosting what Ben Shapiro describes as whatever dregs are still willing to appear on my show. Well, on the subject of Iran and US foreign policy specifically, recent guests have included Masih Alinejad, Lisa Daftari, Patrick Bet-David, Carlos.
So he goes on to show that he's hosted pro-Israel voices and anti-Israel voices. He goes on to review, it's like, multiple more minutes, so I can't play it all here, but he goes on to review Ben Shapiro saying that he's platforming like Nazi voices, one of them being Nick Fuentes. Piers argues, but he was pushing back against those voices, etc. Right? So that's where it goes off into. But then Dave Rubin jumps into the mix and posts this. I explained to Piers Morgan to his face why I won't do his panel shows anymore. And it's a similar, like, this is WWE debate. This isn't real substance. Which is funny coming from Dave Rubin. Rubin wouldn't know substance if it smacked him across the face.
I will be completely, totally honest with you. About 8 months ago,
To be clear, I agree with this criticism of the style of debates that will happen on a Piers type show. Not even the criticism, the recognition. Does anyone think like, 5 people being on a panel together all shouting is definitely going to be a substantive debate? No. You go on because you're like, bah, but that's fine. I go on, it's kind of fun. You're like, woo. That's not the setting where you think you're going to get the needle to move for one of the other panelists. Now, it is an opportunity for someone like me who's liberal to show up in front of a more conservative audience and maybe make them go, the little moments that he got to speak before Piers Morgan cut him off, he was making some good points. Maybe I'll go look at what he has to say. And I think we've heard from people where they've seen me in one of those like performance debate type settings, right? Like Jubilee or a bar fight or Piers Morgan. And then they've looked into more of the content where we're able to do more thought out substantive stuff and their mind has been changed. So it's not completely worthless, just to be clear. But the whole like recognizing that a lot of it is performance and people getting sound bites is true. So it's not me saying that being called out is wrong. But number one, acting like you had this realization and now I just can't go on that show. You were going on that show for that reason, but then for some reason you stopped wanting to go on. That's the big thing, which is fine. And you engage in that exact type of behavior. So you're all a bunch of hypocrites.
I will be completely, totally honest with you. About 8 months ago, I basically said to myself, I don't want to do Piers' show anymore because the way the debates go, all of the people, the screaming, the lunatics, the jank and these awful people where you have a certain set of people largely on the right who come on that are thoughtful and can explain their ideas and wajat and all these nutbags. And I really swore it off. And then I did do it again.
I've never heard that phrase before. Nutbags? I've never heard someone describing someone else as a nutbag. That's so, like, too descriptive. A nutbag. Ugh. It's too visual.
Their ideas and wajat and all these nutbags. And I really swore it off. And then I did do it again. I did it the day after Charlie died. And I had to demolish Cenk the way I did with receipts. But I view it now as it's adding flame. It's just adding fuel to the fire, that nothing good is coming out of it. And in a weird way, I don't mean that as a knock to you. I mean it maybe as a knock to what the internet has become. What do you make of it?
Well, I think
so. For example, if you ask me right now, Dave, you want to come on my show for a one-on-one interview the other way, or
the definition of nutbag Jaden has pulled up for us is an odd, eccentric, or insane person, or the scrotum.
Even for maybe a one-person debate, which I did it with you in person in London, which with that socialist, and I enjoyed that. But the other thing I think has now become something that is not helping. That's just my opinion.
No, I think it's perfectly fair criticism, and I've seen criticism of my show where people say you're the Jerry Springer of political debate because you just want people fighting all the time. It's not true, actually. I don't like it when it becomes too much of a circus. I don't like it when people shout over each other because the viewer can't really understand what's happening. I do like fiery, passionate debate.
I don't believe you, Piers, that you don't like when it's a circus. I'm very biased because every single time I've gone on, except for once, I have been interrupted, I think, more quickly and more often than any guest that goes on there. It's strange. I watch even other liberal, and here's why. Do you want to know why? You really want to know why? I'll tell you. I'll leak the secret. It's because I'm too reasonable. Now that sounds like a joke, and handsome. No, it's because he'll let a liberal, if they kind of are spiraling, he'll let them talk, and then let a right winger come in and be like, rah. But I think the points that I'll make kind of irk him because he knows he agrees with them deep in his heart. Whenever I call out like his ridiculous support of Trump during the campaign and how he ran cover for him and did silly content to defend him. That's not me like portraying the archetype of a silly liberal. That's like making a very true point that he knows is kind of embarrassing. So then he cuts off. That's why I think. And so that makes me biased to think it's a circus. I'll still go on, though. It's still kind of like, whatever, woo. But you have to know what it is. But then sometimes it exposes you to a different audience and someone actually hears out your point a little bit later. And just when you think, I'm not being like self-centered and thinking I get cut off a lot. All the comments on my most recent appearance, or a bunch of them, from Piers Morgan viewers were, why wouldn't you let Trump, or Luke, why wouldn't you let Luke finish a sentence? Like, that's how bad it got. Oh gosh. So they are being it's kind of the wrong people to be criticizing each other in that way on. But then you have Piers Morgan saying 4 months ago, I drove out to do Ruben's podcast at his home in Miami, that clip you saw, as a personal favor, lol, because he's done my show many times. I thought we were friends. How wrong could I be? What a treacherous little weasel. Being Netanyahu's useful idiot has sent him and Shapiro nuts. To which Ruben responds, oh dear, Piers just posted this and blocked me. He can dish it, but he can't take it. I would have thought more highly of an esteemed British tabloid journalist. And so this slop fest is getting there. And finally you have Piers Morgan posting this photo with him and Ben Shapiro. And he's edited Shapiro to look really, really small. And he says, if you come for the British king, Ben Shapiro, you best not miss. Oh, it's all so cringy. Do any of the right-wingers like each other anymore? I feel like all of them are fighting each other. Whew. All right, let me quickly check in with the audience. You have Kay Baldiga saying, have a super March 10th, guys. You're the best. Thank you so much. Alice in 1984 sent 5 gifted memberships. That is amazing. And then Hillary Badillery sent a gifted membership, and I appreciate that as well. That is today's show. If you come for the British king, you best not miss. Oh, Piers. Oh, Piers. Okay, that's the show. Much love to you all. I'll talk to you next time.